So hi, hello. Welcome back to this event, Reinventing the Food and Beverage Industry, organized by Fidelio. Before welcoming our speakers, I present a bit the feature of this interface. So you can chat and comment what's happening during the conference using the chat. Just click the small button on your Zoom menu, and you can turn from host and panelist to host or on speakers to everybody, so everybody can see what you're saying. And you can also, we advise that you use the Q&A feature, so you can ask questions, you can vote, you can comment other people's questions, and speakers it will be much easier for them to answer. So now I welcome Mo and Tanguy, if I hope I say well your name. Sorry for my English, guys.
Hello.
Yeah, and have a nice conference.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Mo. Yes, you did pronounce the name right, Tanguy and Mo. Thank you, everybody, to be here today and to participate in this webinar. What we are going to talk about today, we're going to present on how to automate your food safety task and operation. So this is a webinar I think that will be very interesting for you because right now we are in a situation, yes, we in the pandemic, maybe a little bit of post-pandemic, we hope, and we have manpower shortage. And this means that we have to invent any way possible to have some kind of automation in everything that we do, especially in terms of food safety, because that's what we're concerned about. As Ben said, please don't wait at the end of the presentation to ask your question. There's a Q&A box below, so write down your questions there, and we're going to answer all the questions as we go. So the content, we're going to talk about 3 specific items today. We're going to talk about how what is food safety automation and why it matters. We will give you some concrete example. And second aspect is we'll talk about what are the elements that should guide your decision towards a transition. And the last element is what are the steps? Because once we know what the automation is and what are the elements, you want to know what are the steps to implement and how to measure success, because you have to be able to say, yes, we are successful in terms of our automation transition. A little bit about us. We are a company that's called Nomex, and Nomex, the goal of Nomex is automating your food safety task and operations. And we started in 2018. Previously, we started another company that still exists today, Safer Produce Consulting, that helps food manufacturers importing across Canada and the US. And companies start to ask the same question over and over, because when you implement a food safety program, as you know, you have a lot of record keeping, a lot of record that are generated from your activities, and you have to do something about it. That's why we came up with Nomex, because companies start to ask the question, is there anything that we can do? So we eliminate all this paperwork. And now we are not only in Quebec, Ontario, but we're also in the States. We have 2 separate, we have 3 teams actually. We have developer teams, we have food safety consultant, and we do have also a customer relationship team that are there helping the clients. Now, the first item that we want to talk about here is what is food safety automation? When we say food safety automation, what exactly are we talking about and why it's important? Food safety automation, this is, we came up with this definition because this is exactly what it means when we say food safety automation. It's a process that should facilitate. Here we can even say that must facilitate, because the key words here is facilitating. So it's a process that should facilitate the execution of the actions of food safety from procurement to distribution. So basically from farm to fork. When you transition to a digital means, the key word, what you have to remember is if it does facilitate, that's success. If it does not facilitate, you have to get away from it, because this is what it needs to do. Now, why exactly it's important? It's important, what we've seen as statistics, about 90% of companies are using the same manual processes that they used to have 20 years or 30 years ago. And when we surveyed them, they said, well, it's still satisfactory for them, because they score 90%, 95%, etc. during the HACCP audit, the SQF audit. And that's why they still think that there's no need to change. But guess what? What happens is everybody else is changing. There's a speed, this transition speed that's happening in the market, especially it's been accelerated by the COVID. And you can have 90% during an audit, but that's not the right question. The right question is, what are the resources that it took from you, right? That it took away to get that 90% or 95%. In terms of transition speed, there are around, give or take, 200 million manufacturers worldwide, and only 10% have transitioned, within the last a decade. And we see that it's been accelerating now because of the pandemic and the labor shortage. And we really think that this trend is global, and this trend is going to keep continuing, because we see that in the marketplace. Now, when we say transitioning, we have a before, of course, and then we have an after. So what was before? Before, it's probably what you're currently, the situation that you're currently in right now, or that the company that is currently in that situation. We have to manage, or you have to manage, a lot of people, meaning printing, scanning, copy, photocopy. So business as usual. So managing all the distribution and the revision of the form. So one might think this is normal, but with the progress of technology and automation, this is an issue, because it wastes you a lot of time. And when we say time in business, that translates directly into money. Right? How much it costs you for that. Before the automation, you also have the security problems. You can lose data. It always happens during an audit that the auditor asks for a specific date, and we don't have the date. Why? Because we just lost the paper. It's not in the cabinet, but it was there before the audit. The paper can be damaged because of ink, maybe because it was shredded by mistake. It can be falsified easily when it's the paper. And of course, this one is also very important, because with all the environmental trends, you want to make sure that you keep your image, and then you reduce your footprint. And last but not least, the high cost. And I alluded into that a little bit later, because all these activities, printing, copy, photocopy, all the resources that you allocate into all those, and all the office supplies that you use, of course, it will generate some cost. Actually, it will generate a lot of cost. And depending on the size of the company, we evaluated that being around 10 to 15 K per year. This is per year. Now, what's the solution? So the solution is we came up with an integrated web platform that will transition into from paper to web platform. And that platform, you use that to access information while browsing. So you just have your username, your password to do the automation. All the data must be secured. So the data are secured on the cloud during the record keeping, because you'll do a lot of record keeping, whether it's sanitation, pre-operational inspection, HACCP record, etc. The next item is, of course, you'll save the tree by stop printing, okay? And then you save money, because you won't have to spend on office supplies. This is really the key word. Now, We're going to stop here. We pause a little bit and give you some examples, some concrete example. And when I finish doing those examples, I'll transition to Mo, and Mo will give you more information about how Jenna Foods, his company, was able to automate their food safety test. So you have real example about the subject. So when you have a food safety program, you always have two major tasks to complete. You have the monitoring task and you have the verification task. Any auditor will look for those. Whether you go for a HACCP or for GFSI, this will be the main task and main activities that you'll have to complete. So in Nomics, that's exactly what we came up with. So we came up with those two tasks. And those two tasks are monitoring and verification. So right now, what I'll do, I'm going to show you the manager profile and the supervisor profile. That's what we call them. That's how we call them in Nomics. So what we call manager profile, it's actually the verification profile. And what we call a supervisor profile, this is the monitoring profile. So I'm showing you now the manager profile. So in the manager profile, which is the verification profile, you are able to go into your settings, and from the settings, you're going to be able to create your supervisor or your monitor, and then provide them the modules that they need to complete, right? Whether it's a daily module frequency, it's a weekly, bi-weekly, etc. So you are setting up all the information and all the tasks for your supervisors, so they can actually complete their tasks. So this is where automation will start. Now, I'll jump in on the supervisor to see what they will see actually when they come in the morning. So this is what they see when they come in the morning. When they open the platform, they open, for example, Nomics in this case, they go to pending task. And when they click on go to pending task, they see exactly what they need to complete. Coming from the manager, because the manager has, he's created all those tasks because it's part of your food safety plan. Daily frequency, monthly frequency. So this is what they have to do today. And they're going to be able to come here and let's say, for example, I'm clicking on sanitation, complete the task. While we click on sanitation, we'll see exactly what needs to be done for sanitation. So this is what needs to be done. If I just want to focus on my daily task, my daily sanitation, I have a frequency filter here, and then I'm going to be able to complete my daily, and it will be divided per room. So you have a lot of room, receiving, shipping, etc. So as soon as you click on submit, what happens is it goes straight to your table below, and this is the record that happens. And then you have your completed by here. And this is not a completed record yet. This just says I monitored, right? Then you have to have the verification. Now, something just happened when the supervisor completed the task. The manager will receive an email that says, this task has been completed by this supervisor. Please complete the task. Verify the task now. Now, I'll go back to the manager's profile. There's two ways. The first way will be from the email, and we know that you're so busy. The second option will be from the dashboard. So when the manager goes on the dashboard, he's going to be able to go to pending approval, click on go to pending approvals. And once he clicks there, he will be able to see all the information, everything that needs to be approved. And this is it right there. So those two rooms appear right here. Right now, it says there's no corrective action, it's blank. I can even go here to view more details. So I can see more details. See here, as you know, means conform. And I can go see the other one. Everything's been done. So I'm the manager. I'm satisfied with that. I can just come here and do check all. I click approve. And once I click approve, it selects everything at once. And then it will be approved by default. So, and to show you that it will be approved, first thing, it will disappear from the dash. From the go to pending approval, now I have an empty basket. Second thing is I can go directly here on the sanitation to double check, right? To see if it's actually being approved. And as you can see right here, you have completed by, approved by, and approval date. So you'll never miss a date with automation, because the platform always lets you know which one has been approved and which one needs to be approved. And this process goes for all type of tasks and food safety tasks among the platform, whether it's sanitation, pest control, training, etc., pre-op inspection. The second task that I want to show you, it's a very important task also. It's what we call suppliers approval. This is one of the biggest tasks that you can have. Suppliers approval right now, the current situation is without automation, you have to call your, you have to email the suppliers, send them letter of guarantee, write them letters, and then follow up and ask them to send you certificate and to complete an evaluation. You have to do that over and over and until they respond. And then, during the audit, you only have 20% return. So with this type of automation, what happens is, of course, you have to enter all the questions for the suppliers. This is for the suppliers approval process, by the way. This is for auto evaluation. Once you enter all that, second step, you enter the supply itself. So the supply needs to be entered here. And then you have to choose the language. So you can choose any language the supplier may have, and the system will communicate in his language. The item supplies needs to be chosen here. And there is an algorithm behind that will give a risk score behind this dropdown. And once you complete all that, of course, you'll select all the product that the supplier supplies. And email address, very important, submit. Now, what happens when all this process has been submitted? Everything goes here under the not approved section because the supplier has not been approved yet. And the great thing with the automation is your supplier receives an email directly from the platform, not from you. And that email, it's really a standard email that says, in order to maintain your food safety program, et cetera, we need your help uploading your food safety documentation. And there'll be a link. Once your supplier clicks on the link, he will be directed in his own platform, in his own portal to upload the files. And this is what your supplier will see. The supplier will be able to have an instruction here that says, please upload your certificate and complete a supplier assessment. So if they have a food safety certificate, they click yes. And then this is where they're going to be able to attach the certificate with the certificate expiry date. This is very important. Why it's important? Because once he does that and add the expiry date, the platform will keep that in mind and then consider the expiry date and then send another email to say, okay, we have to start the process all over again. Of course, they're going to be able to attach their certification, the specification sheet, and then they go to the next section. The next section, this is where they do the auto evaluation. And auto evaluation, it's all the question that you previously added that will appear here on their portal. And it's already yes, yes, yes by default, but the supplier have the opportunity to answer all these questions. So if it's a no, he's going to be able to click no and then have the justification here. This is very important. As the quality manager, you want to know who you are approving and what are the answers that they provide. And the auditor, of course, they want to know that as well in order to do a complete assessment. At the end, they have their letter of guarantee that they have to accept. It's a standard letter. And then they're going to be able to put their name here and then submit. This is second step of automation. Once they do that, you as the quality manager receives an email. And that email says, this supplier has completed his evaluation. Now you can go ahead and review. And this is where, when you click on the link, this link will direct you exactly to where the supplier has completed his auto evaluation. So you're going to be able to see his response. That's what appear here in purple. And then move from one response to the other. Go all the way down, see the letter of guarantee, I accept, completed by. This is where you approve. And once you approve this is when your supplier will go from the non-approved section to the approved section. And that's why on your dashboard, you probably saw that on the dashboard, a couple of charts here. This is it right here, supplier, 100%. Actually, 100% means all the suppliers have gone through this process and they all approve. This is one of the key automation that you can have for suppliers approval. And all these automation are designed for all the requirement for any food safety certification. And of course, one of the major also processes is the non-conformity and the customer complaint. So whenever you have non-conformity customer complaint, as the manager, you can assign who does what, and then complete the non-conformity, because we, you have a module that generates and carry the non-conformities. And once you do that, this gives you the information that 7 non-conformities are open. In your case, it can be 0 or 10 or 20, but this gives you that information. When you click on details, it will provide you the details of all the non-conformities. And then these just are filters to compare to, this year, last year, etc. The most important thing here is this pie chart. You see, this tells you, for example, 50% of my non-conformity at the moment are either human error or inadequate GMP. So that means I have to do something about it. This tells me it takes me 9 days as a company to close the non-conformities. And then this is where we can decide, okay, this is good enough, or we want to do some kind of improvement. And of course, this will give you the non-conformities that are open versus the ones that are closed. And that's how you can assign to anybody at the company who does what in terms of non-conformities and in terms of follow-up. So the same process applied to the customer complaint. And you have all the automations that you need for the sanitation, pre-op, microbiology, completed training. So this process would apply for all of them. Now, the last process that I want to show you before we move ahead with more is the HACCP certification. So in terms of HACCP certification and HACCP process, not certification, the process, you have to enter, of course, all your ingredients. This is where you will enter the ingredient as the manager. So you will enter all the ingredients here. You can do one by one if you don't have a lot of ingredient, and then you're going to select the categories. These are the categories that we worked on with not only the CFIA and also the FTAs, because there are known hazards related to these categories of ingredients. So this is what we created the database into a database, basically. And the second, the other option is if you have a long list of ingredients, you can just upload them. And once you upload, you're going to be able to match the ingredient and these categories. And you'll have something like this that will happen. You have all the ingredients and all the categories. And automatically in the background, the algorithm will take all that information and provide you with all the HACCP forms. When we say HACCP form, it's let's jump, for example, on Form 2. Form 2 is the hazard assessment for your incoming ingredients. So based on the categories that you selected, your Form 2, your incoming ingredients already completed, and you just have to add, of course, the chemical product if you have any, and your Form 2 is completed. So this now goes in your hazard assessment automatically, right? This is where the automation is done. So if I click on my form 5.8, I have 3 tabs here: ingredient, incoming materials. The hazard is completed for all categories. So all the categories are in green, and the hazard assessment is below. You see, you have all the categories, and then the hazard assessment, categories, hazard assessment, etc. So you have cheese, all is done. And in the automation, even the place all the hazard are controlled at is provided. So you can use those, or you can you can add your own, right? So basically, that's how it's done in a nutshell. Now I'll let Mo. I'm going to let you jump in and talk a little bit about how automation help Jenna Food. Go ahead, Mo.
Thank you, Tanguy. Hello, everyone. My name is Mo Demiati. I'm the Business Development Manager at Jenna Food Products. We are a premium distributor for international imported food and for the Canadian market. We import, store, and distribute products to grocery stores and restaurants across Canada. Our goal was to have an SQF certification. In the process of the consulting of SQF certification, Normex was introduced by Tanguy. The task that's required to implement SQF certification is enormous. A lot of forms, a lot of paperwork, a lot of processes, which is scary for a growing company with a growing team. How to teach, how to educate, how to set the processes. When we saw Normex, we found out that it's really a no-brainer. Everything is automated. We don't have to go through the paperwork. The forms are at this door or at that location or at this section of our work. So it's everything on the mobile. The supervisor and the worker is able to input his task, and then we can visualize it and see how to approve it and make sure that the conformities are in process. So the Normex made it really a simple process for us to understand the tasks required in implementing an SQF certification, as well as making us achieve that the task of implementing health and safety, SQF, equipment, transport, modules or implementation in our system. So in a way, it helped us improve our management. It helped us improve or structure our processes. So it's all in all an amazing automation platform that's, I can't think of a way without it to do the task of automating your health and safety and food safety certification. I thank you, Tanguy, for helping us with this enormous task. With this software is an amazing software to make life easy for everybody in the company.
Very well. Thank you, Mo. Moving ahead, please don't forget to ask your question, put your question in the Q&A box, and then we'll take the question in the second part. So now, what are the elements that should guide your decision towards a transition? This is one of the key points. So what we propose is there are 5 questions that you have to ask yourself in order to make that decision. The first one is, will automation allow us or allow you to eliminate your paperwork? This is very important. So you have to keep in mind that the goal is to facilitate the management of program. So by making it more effective, this is the goal. Now, the second question is, will automation make our data more accessible? Will it be accessible? Meaning, can we work, for example, remotely? If we are outside of the facilities, do we still have access? If we're inside the facility, do we have to be at the same place at the same time to have the information? We have to be, can we be in separate places and have an integrated platform? Will it work? So those are the questions that you have to ask. If I have a quality manager that's just part-time, does he have access remotely? Even if it's a consultant that needs to help us Do they have access to our facility? So they don't need to be physically at the facility. So third question is, will automation facilitate compliance management? Very important. This means that I do not want, as the quality manager, I don't necessarily want to have to look for new trends, new regulations, new laws, new standards update, whether it's FISMA, HACCP, food safety for Canadian regulation, etc. So the platform needs to have some kind of automation that updates all these programs automatically. Fourth question, will automation accommodate our growth? So your intention is to grow. So you will have new equipment, new process, new product, new package, etc. So will automation be scalable so it will still be able to comply with all my requirements? Then the last question, will automation allow us to reduce our cost? This is also very important. The answer here is it must, because it must facilitate what you do. Now, what are the steps to implement and how to measure success? One of the steps is, there are 3 steps that we propose that you have to take on in order to transition from paper to automation. First step, prepare your paper. So if you already have a system, you probably have some records, you have some structure, some list control, you have some inspection items, etc. Audit requirements. So prepare all this to be able to transition. Second step, find the right digital solution. There are many digital solutions out there, so find the right one that works for you. And to do that, you can just, it's trial and errors, right? Because we can never say one solution is better than another one. It really depends on your specific needs. And based on that, you're going to be able to decide what's right for you. The last step is to get your team on board. You can have, the best intention possible. You cannot do it alone. You have to have a team that will help you do that transition, because you're not going to be the one to do all the inspections. You're not going to be the one to do all the monitoring and all the verification at the same time. So get your team involved. You have to sell them actually why it will be better for them. And that's how you're going to get them on board. Not only for them, but for food safety. You'll see what I mean. What does successful automation look like? So you have implemented. Now, are we successful in the implementation that we've done? Now, automation success is not the result of a standalone project. So this is something that we have to really be cautious on. It's not a standalone project or a solution. It's a continuous process. So once you have that implemented, it's a dynamic process that you are going to, use the automation and then trials and error until you continue doing continuous improvement all the time. So that's how you're going to measure success. Now, companies that have succeeded, the automation have often in common the following features, and you heard what Mo have discussed. And that's exactly the same type of features that the company have. So they are focused on the needs, right? They are aware of the importance of scalability while remaining able to offer each of their customer personalized experience. And of course, they ensure that the automation system remains as flexible as possible. So you grow, but at the same time, while you grow, you have to ensure that automation and the type of system that you have will be able to follow that automation. And the last one is they made everything that it could become efficient. So if you have any process that you think can become efficient, it has to go to automation. And that's how those companies look like. Now, to succeed, your automation, you have to accept the fact that it's a process. And I've alluded to that previously. It's a process. It's not a result of, it's not So this will conclude the presentation today. We leave you some information if you want to have more information about how you can transition from paper to automation, what automation is, what it looks like, etc. Don't hesitate to contact us. Send us an email, and then we'll be happy to help you. So now is the time we can take some question. Okay, so first question that I have. The question is for Mo. Mo, how long did it take you to transition from paper to electronic?
As we started fresh in our SQF implementation with Normex, we didn't transit from paper. We went straight on with Normex because it was a no-brainer. I think Normex helped us speed up the implementation process of SQF. So instead of spending maybe 5-6 months, I think in the first week we were able to understand how the SQF works and how the modules work, and it was quick for us to learn. So I think overall it helped us reduce our time to implement the SQF certification rather than taking time transiting from paper to automation.
Right. And second question is how does automation help when it comes to standard and regulation updates? I think this one is for me. How does automation help when it comes to standards and regulation updates? So if I understand the question correctly, automation will help you. Let's say you don't have any automation. So this means that you have to ensure that you, of course, be aware of all type of update. If there's any update in global gap, if there's any update in SQF, even if there's any update in the FSMA, Canadian Food Safety Regulations, you name it, you have to be able to get aware of all these regulations and adapt your requirements and adapt your program. Now with automation, it's done automatically, so you don't need to worry about it. There is a team. Your platform will adapt your food safety, for example, your audit based on the new requirements. So there's no issue. Now, another question from Luis Garcia. I assume digital records are required. That means a lot of training for plant floor personnel. Is this assumption correct? This is a very good question, Luis. There is, maybe Mo can answer the question. How about that, Mo? You went through that.
Well, yes. So the floor, for example, we have receiving and dispatching. Just an example. If there is a task that they have to record in Normex, for example, the warehouse worker will take a picture or will take a picture with his mobile for the load, and then either update it after when he's free, or at the end of the day, he looks, okay, how many pictures, how many products I dispatch, and then I upload it on Normex. Or right away, if he has the platform on his mobile, on his web browser, he can click, okay, we had this dispatch at this temperature, and attach a picture. So we are actually using Normex in a way that improve our processes as a company. And the beauty of it is that the supervisor doesn't have to go and check the physical paper. He will immediately see it. So he's able to know what deliveries were there, what was not reported, what was reported. So there's a lot of convenience that applies. It becomes standard. Temperature recording becomes a standard in the practice of the company. And with automation, I think we are all going through this in this time of life where technology is helping us make life easy. So this is it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Mo. So this is the second question that Luis is asking is, will CFA inspector and GFSI auditor accept all document in digital form? This is a very important question as well. And the short answer is yes. This is where the whole industry is going. Because right now, paper is just a mean of proving that you comply, right? It's just one mean. The second mean, which is much more efficient, is electronic. So CFIA, not only CFIA, but CFIA, FISMA, because we do have clients not only in Canada, but in the States, and we're moving worldwide, and they all used to, auditing on electronic. So you show them, your platform on a computer screen, and then they audit you. And something that we even notice is going to be faster. Why? Because when they ask you for a record, a record, you just type the date and the record appears right away. Rather than, and I know you understand exactly what I mean, rather than going through a cabinet and then looking for a paper that you might have lost. So yes, the answer is yes for that. Now, another question is, okay, I think we answered that question already. It came again. How long does it take to transition? More answer that question. What happened with previous record when we transition? So meaning if you already have a previous record and then you want to transition at, let's say, 0.0, what happens? So you can have two options. One option is what you have, the record that you already have, you leave those on paper, and then you now continue with the electronic from the future records. This is one option. And the second option is everything that you add before, you can upload that into the platform, and then you continue like that. So you have those two options, and both are feasible when you have this type of platform. Now, question for Mo. Can employee work remotely when they use this type of platform?
200%, because we do have a bookkeeper and accounting overseas. Also, we have a logistic coordinator that is located overseas, and they're all able to remotely manage and use Normex. And actually, without Normex, that was not possible. To paper record and scan and send, it's a daunting task. So with Normex, if you want to reduce your cost and you have employees that are in different areas, whether they're in Toronto, whether they're in Montreal, or whether they're overseas, or whether we are not on physical location, we're able to monitor and address everything required with SQF or HACCP certification.
Very good, very good. So this is the last question that I have. Is it any more question? If they are, please write down on the Q&A. Okay. Another question just enter. Are this type of okay, are this type of system expensive? So I think it depends. It depends on your need. It depends on what you need. If you only have one employee or two employees versus 100 employees, those are licensed, and not everybody will do the same. So we really encourage you to contact us, and then we can discuss that based on your need.
I find it extremely affordable, Tangoy, in terms of the time saving that we have, and we don't really need to have new or specialized people that are just for the implementation of the SQF, but it could be implemented. It helps implement with the people that we existingly have. So I think it is not a cost, it is efficiency.
Efficiency. Yeah.
It is 100% efficiency and time saving. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mo. Ben, I don't have any more questions. So I leave the floor to you at this point.
Okay, thank you guys for this amazing conference. So next one is we'll be talking about improving order picking with wearables on voice. So let's meet in 15 minutes. If you didn't subscribe yet, go to Saloon. I just sent you the link on the chat. So I'll let you finish this conference, Tanguy and Mo, with a last word.
Perfect. So I'd like to thank everybody for your participation and for your questions. And I'd like to thank you, Ben, to invite us for this type of webinars. I really appreciate that. Mo, I leave you the last word.
I would like to thank you all for inviting me to this event. It's interesting to keep learning about food safety and automation. And I would like to recommend every company, small or large, interested in going into improving their systems, their health and safety, their certification is not something that's scary, is not something that's out of reach, but it is possible, especially when you have a software that help you implement it. So good luck, and don't hesitate to apply for the improvement in your company in SQF or HACCP or any other certification needed to improve your business. Thank you very much, Ben and Tanguy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Have a good day, and let's meet in the next conference. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.